Now you'll need to get all the shareholders' names, dates of birth, places of birth, and how they hold their shares, whether they hold it in their own name or via a trust. Now let's get the language right here. You should be able to do a pretty convincing impression of a lawyer by the end of this session. A discretionary or family trust is something your accountant or lawyer can set up for you. And it's just a legal construction that holds assets on behalf of some people, maybe you and your family. A trust always has beneficiaries, which are the people or companies that can receive money or assets from the trust.
For example, if a company makes $100 in profit and your trust owns 50% of that business, then your trust must distribute $50 of that $100 between the beneficiaries, which might just be you or it might be yourself and a partner. Having a trust distribute money to multiple people can actually be really useful from a tax point of view. For example, if I choose to set up a trust and my trust earns 100K from a business, whilst my partner gets 50 grand from a day job, we could split the tax obligations for the entire 150K between the two of us. We each earn 75K in the financial year, which means that we both pay slightly less tax together. Now with those numbers, the benefit's about $1,000. But it's $1,000 that you can only get by having a trust set up right at the start. In a way, it's kind of like free money for doing your tax right. The benefits become a lot more obvious the more money the trust is bringing in. For example, let's say the same business makes twice as much profit the next year, 300K, and your partner is still making 50K at their day job. That total of 350K of taxable income can be split in half, 175K each. And the saving from splitting this up is way higher because of the way that progressive tax brackets in Australia works. The saving is around 10K. But don't get too excited. This isn't free money. A 300K profit has to pay about 100K in tax no matter what. And tax is only avoidable if you're willing to do illegal things with shady accounts on the Cayman Islands, which we don't recommend. Your accountant can also do some things around offsetting things like education debts and other stuff.
Another useful thing about a discretionary trust is succession. The assets are held for the beneficiaries for the term of the trust, so they don't need to be included in your will. It's also handy for liability. If you get sued personally, the person trying to sue you cannot access the assets in the trust because no one owns them. They exist purely for the benefit of the trust's beneficiaries. This applies to the shares that you hold in your company. If you hold them in your own name, rather than a trust, if someone sues you, they could claim your shares in the business in lieu of the payment of that debt.
Now, setting up a trust does cost about $1,000, and it does increase the complexity of your accounting costs year on year, but accounting costs are tax deductible. So if you're confident you're going to make any kind of income from the business, it's a good idea to do it well.
Now, this is all pretty standard legally and can be taken care of by a good accountant. But you can only do this stuff if you're set up right at the start.
Now, all of the examples I've given are using Australian law, but the ideas are pretty much the same all over the world. Companies make profit and companies pay tax. People have incomes and, surprise, surprise, people pay tax.
Phew, that's the complex bit over. The rest is really pretty easy. So next you'll have to come up with a company name. You should search Asset Connect to see if someone else already has your name. If so, change it. If not, choose it. There's a link on our site for this. This is your public name, so check the ABN lookup to make sure that no one else has that name. Next, you'll decide on a business name, but only if it's different to the company name. This is the name used for charging people money, where they can post you things, and it'll also appear on your letterhead and your business cards and other business stationery. Next, we'll choose the registered office. This is where serious letters from people like the ASIC, the ATO, the ACCC get posted. It has to be somewhere where you will definitely receive the mail. If you get sued, this is where the letters will go. You can often use your accountant's or lawyer's office if they're okay with it. Finally, if you've decided to go down the non-profit path, you'll need to do a few more things. First, you'll need at least one member, 3 directors, and a qualified secretary. You'll need to hold an AGM, an annual general meeting, where the members get together and make decisions. And if you're big enough, you'll need to get your accounts audited. And if you want to do tax-deductible donations, you'll have to apply for DGR, or Deductible Gift Recipient Status, through the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission, the ACNC. This is really getting into Ask Your Lawyer territory, which is why so many early-stage projects are often set up as a proprietary limited company. Also, make sure you write down all the assets that have been assigned to the company. For example, any software, property like land or a piece of machinery, or even a cash investment. If you get investment later on, they'll want to see a paper trail that proves they're buying stuff that's already owned by the company. Okay, so that was super complex. Let's recap. First, we figured out what percent of the business each person owns. We wrote down the shares each person has and what kind of shares they are. Then we chose directors and we figured out whether people are holding their shares personally or in a trust. Then we've chosen a legal name, possibly a business name, and a registered office. You've led your team through all the difficult conversations necessary, and you've probably spent some time explaining how all the legalities work to your co-founders. This will hopefully convince everyone on the team that you're the right person to lead the organisation.